Hey, and welcome to Eat Out at Home, the podcast. This is the place for those who love cooking and creating connections through food. I'm your host, Chef Evelyn, and on this podcast, I share with you my favorite tips and tricks for enjoying life one bite at a time. If you're ready for today's episode, sit back, relax, grab a snack, and let's dive in. Hey, and welcome back to another episode of Eat Out at Home, the podcast. And today I want to talk about why I did not go cold turkey when it came to cooking at home consistently. So I want to say this, and I'm going to start this episode a little differently. I'm going to start a little bit more philosophical than usual. Obviously, I know we're talking about food, we're talking about cooking at home, we're talking about entertaining and hosting and all of the things, but I'm gonna go a little bit more philosophical today, which is I believe in Western American culture, there is this desire for things to be very, very black and white. And if you would have asked me 20 years ago, I would have definitely been team black and white, that there's a 100% wrong way to do something, 100% a right way to do something. There is no middle ground. There is no in between, because it was just easier for me to function in absolutes, when the reality is life is full of shades of gray. No reference to 50 Shades of Gray. We're not getting that kind of philosophical over here, okay? And I want to relate that to cooking at home. You know, a lot of times when, people are on a journey, whether it is a health journey and that's why they're cooking at home, whether it's a financial journey, whatever the case may be, if there's other reasons, I talked for me in another episode about it being more about returning to a creative self-expression for me. There can be, at least for me and some people I know, this tendency or this draw or this pull for it to be all or nothing. And I will tell you that I tried that when I went from like hardly cooking at home at all. I talked about it in a previous episode where I talked about why I stopped cooking for 7 years. And I thought about like how I tried to be like, okay, this is ridiculous. I'm about to cook at home every single day of the week. And I failed miserably. When I tell you it was disaster, because I was trying to do the whole cold turkey thing. And listen, are there things in life that we can do cold turkey? Absolutely. And we can force ourselves and push ourselves and restrain ourselves and discipline ourselves enough and, buckle down and get it together and just that kind of energy. And for me, where I talked about that coming back to cooking was a form of self-expression, that energy of forcing was in complete contrast to why I wanted to get back into the kitchen. And so for me, I did not do cold turkey. I actually did a stair-step method, which I actually think for me was significantly more beneficial. And if you or somebody that you know is trying to cook at home consistently, maybe this is an option that will be supportive to that transition, right? And so I really thought about, okay, what is my goal here, right? For me, it was self-expression, but I did want the benefits of choosing, better eating habits. I did want the benefits of, self-expression, but I also wanted the benefits of like saving money. I also wanted the benefits of me taking time to care for myself in the kitchen, because I do believe that cooking can be a form of self-care. So the stair-step method is what works for me. So I was like, what is the easiest meal that I can replace with minimal effort by cooking at home? And for me, it was breakfast, right? It was like, okay, I can do a smoothie. I can do boiled eggs and a bagel and a piece of fruit. I can do a breakfast sandwich. I've talked a lot about my meal templates. So whatever that is for you, whatever meal that is for you, I was like, I can make my own green tea. I can make my own chai. If I really want to and I'm in the mood, I'll make my own matcha. Whatever the case may be. For you, it might be coffee. And I am not here to tell you like, you need to stop, spending your latte money. Like, that is never going to be me because again, I don't believe in restrictive eating in that way. I believe in working with what comes to you naturally. I really enjoy making breakfast, And it also felt like the easiest meal to start cooking at home. So when I started my journey, I was like, just make breakfast. You don't have to go, okay, I'm going from eating out for most of my meals to I'm going to make, 21 meals a week, right? That's a full-time job. I was like, just make breakfast or just have things on hand for breakfast, right? I even allow myself to say, even if it's pre-packaged, which I'm not a huge pre-packaged eater for myself personally, I was like, but I'd rather just get in the habit of eating at home, even if I wasn't cooking at home. Let me clarify. I was like, I'd rather just get in the habit of eating at home and then cooking at home, even if it wasn't really cooking, even if it was just, I'm just going to throw this all in the blender, even if it's, I'm just going to toast this bagel, even if it's, I'm just going to make this cup of tea. I was like, I'm going to start there, right? And then I ease my way up to, okay, you get the afternoon snackies, right? Like around 3 o'clock, because you've eaten lunch at noon. You're not going to eat dinner till 6. About that 3 o'clock hour, I need a little snacky, right? And so I was like, okay, what can I have on hand? I don't even necessarily have to, create some elaborate snack or anything like that. I was like, can I just, map out some snacky ideas, put it on the grocery list and know, okay, at a minimum, I'm going to have my snack at home. And so here's the thing. That's where I started, right? I started with breakfast initially, and then I gave myself time to become consistent in that. And then I added another layer. So then it went from breakfast to snackies. Then it went from breakfast to snackies to lunch. Then it went from breakfast to snackies to lunch to dinner. And then I said, okay, I love a dessert, right? I love a dessert, not every day, but I do love a little some sweet every now and then at the end of the meal. And I got to the point where I told myself, I said, okay, you can have whatever dessert you want. You can just make it at home. And let me clarify with this one, because my culinary arts degree is technically in baking and pastry arts. I did both programs, but I just needed one more class to get the culinary arts degree, and I was not about to pay an extra like $4,000 for that one class. So I consider myself to be ambidextrous, if you will, in the culinary world, where I can do savory and I can do sweet, but technically my culinary arts degree is in baking and pastry arts. And so I'm like, Evelyn, you have an entire baking and pastry degree at your disposal, right? And I do have the luxury of time freedom, right? And so I said to myself, so kind of when I was stair-stepping this journey, I was like, listen, you can bake and eat whatever you want. This is what I had to tell myself. I was like, the only requirement is just make it. You want chocolate chip cookies? No problem. Make it. You want coconut cake? No problem. Make it. You want a passion fruit pavlova? No problem. Make it, right? And so now, but that came further down the journey, right? And so I would probably say this process of stair stepping probably took me several months. And I remember saying progress is better than like this hardcore, whatever, intense black or white. There's no middle ground. And so, in the beginning, the only meal I was cooking at home was breakfast. And then for a while, the only thing I was cooking at home was breakfast and a snack. But that was an improvement, right? And so, and versus trying to say, oh, I'm eating out 80% of the time. Now I'm going to cook at home 80% of the time. That's a sharp right turn. That's like trying to do a U-turn in an 18-wheeler. And again, this goes back to my concept of working with yourself versus against yourself. I didn't even try to get creative when it came to the breakfast. I was like, what are you getting when you go out to breakfast? What do you get when you go to Starbucks? What do you get when you were in the line at Chick-fil-A or wherever you were going for breakfast? What were you getting? Make that at home. Right? Oh, you like a matcha? Okay, you like a chai latte and you like a breakfast sandwich? Make that at home. Get that at home, right? Oh, for your afternoon snack, you kind of were leaning towards X, Y, and Z. Fine, just buy that at home. No rules, no judgment, no super hardcore forcing, black and white, cold turkey. It was a transition, because making the request of yourself to cook at home more consistently is, I mean, I hate to use this phrase because I feel like it's overused so much, but it really is a lifestyle change, right? You have to change how you spend your time, how you spend your money, the decisions you make, how you manage your day to day, how you manage your week. And to say you're going to go from a completely opposite lifestyle to that with the snap of a finger, to me, was a recipe for inconsistency, was a recipe for burnout, was a recipe for quitting, was a recipe for being inconsistent. So yeah, I took a stair-step approach to cooking at home consistently when I was getting back to it. And if that's where you are and you find yourself like you're on the wagon, you're off the wagon, you're on the wagon, you're off the wagon, I would say give yourself some grace. It doesn't have to be all or nothing. It doesn't have to be black and white. And I will say my goal has never been to cook at home 100% of the time. Never has been, never, ever. For me personally, think it's unrealistic. I think I need a pressure release valve. So I talked about it in another episode where I don't cook dinner on Friday nights. I know that I'm just not going to do it. I know I'm going to order out, and I have no qualms about it. I have no grief about it. I have no shame about it because it's premeditated. It is conscious. I am fully aware that I'm not cooking on Friday nights, right? And that I'm going to get something out, and I budget for that, and that's just a part of that. But I also know that pretty much for the rest of the week, I'm going to be cooking at home, right? Unless I have some kind of event or experience out to eat with friends. So allow yourself to take it one step at a time. Maybe your meal that's easy for you to cook at home or start at home is dinner. Maybe it's lunch, right? But maybe it's snacks. But think about what is just like one step I can take in that direction, right? Versus it's got to be all or nothing. So let me know if you found yourself in that situation, and if this stair-step method seems like it might be beneficial to you. It's something to consider. And listen, if you are enjoying this podcast, tag me on Instagram and let me know. I would love to know how you are enjoying this, or share this podcast with a friend or family member who's also really trying to cook at home more. With the cost of groceries going up and all these things, I definitely think people are going to be really considering how much they eat out. But hopefully it will be more joyful than choreful for them. And with that being said, I will catch you in next week's episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you're ready to start cooking at home consistently, make sure you join the Eat Out at Home Challenge. Visit chefevelyn.com/challenge for all of the details. If you're curious about what I'm cooking in between episodes, make sure to give me a follow on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook for some delicious behind the scenes. And if you enjoyed this episode, please head on over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify to leave us a review. Remember, eating out at home allows you to cook better, eat healthier, save money, and create community. And most importantly, cooking at home is the ultimate form of self-care. I'll see you in the next episode.